You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
You know how hard it is, John, to say penultimate episode?
We've done 10 takes on it already.
At least. But we're here. It's
Here we
Thursday,
are.
the penultimate episode of Mission Log Engage for this week. Hello, everyone. I'm Norman Lau.
And I'm John Champion, and welcome. We are thrilled to engage once again with your comments and questions.
Absolutely. I love heading in towards the weekend with, a couple more engages, on the playlist. And I think that, I don't know, I find it just really, really just satisfying to head into a discussion, heading into the weekend, seeing what we have to offer the listeners here for Engage.
Yeah. All right. Well, today's question or a comment or email, it's an email from Matthew. It's from a couple of years ago. And this is impossible to answer. So you and I, we're going to kick it around.
Oh,
but
I love these kinds of
Isn't
emails.
this the best? Right. But what we're going to do then is we're going to leave it to our Twitter followers and our YouTube commenters and Facebook to leave your own comments, because that's the only way to make any sense of this. And one day we'll do a panel on it. All right. So email from Matthew. He says, hello, I've been listening to Mission Log for quite a few years now. I discovered the podcast while it was in the TOS days. I've been a lifelong fan of the Trek franchise. My folks sharing TOS when I was a kid. I was riveted to TNG during the first run. TNG is my Star Trek. So, hey, Kaylee, you and Matthew should chat. My wife is not a huge sci-fi fan. She's really never watched any Trek, and in fact has a somewhat negative view of the franchise. I think this view is forged by her memories of the overacting in TOS. I'd take exception with that. I would like to try and share a few episodes of TNG with her, hopefully rebranding the series and allowing her to see it from a fresh perspective. Have you ever recommended TNG episodes to someone who has never experienced the show? It's an interesting thing to consider. It would be best to start with an episode that is generally representative of pan-Trekdom, yet still showcases said storytelling and character development. A few episodes have come to mind. I, Borg, one of my favorites. It explores facets of humanity. The Borg backstory is good to know, but I think the episode stands on its own. Plus, Whoopi Goldberg was always great to see as Guinan. Family. Another good one. In a pinch, the episode could stand alone, just knowing that Picard went through something tragic but steps away from the main thrust of the show. Ensign Ro. Interesting story, and Ro is a cool character. However, we see an unusual amount of bias in some of the characters. Riker. Inner Light. Again, great story, but nothing really highlighting the Trek in Star Trek, at least in an introductory way to the crew and their usual sort of space frolics. Half a Life. Some serious potential here. Great acting, a powerful and relevant story. I suppose it doesn't need to be TNG. There are fine episodes of DS9, but I feel like it's the best place to start. Could be my own bias toward TNG, of course. It's where I started after all. If you have suggestions or thoughts on the matter, I would appreciate it. Thanks again for the effort and dedication you put into each episode. All right, wow. We're gonna solve this for Matthew. No, we're not. Everybody else is gonna chime in. But any that jump to mind, or any comments on the choices that Matthew has made here?
I mean, Matthew's choices are all really strong. I think with Iborg, Family, Ensign Ro, there's a lot of previous Star Trek knowledge I think you do need to know before going into those. I mean, Iborg, that's pretty much towards the end of kind of like, basically Borg becoming, their own unique identities. So that's far down the line from the Borg storyline. Family is pretty much the aftermath of Best of Both Worlds, which does it make sense to watch Family if you don't watch Best of Both Worlds? Ensign Ro going far down the line of kind of like the building of the Maquis storyline, the Cardassians in season 6 and 7. Inner Light, always a fan favorite because it's more of an internal exploration of a character. It has really nothing to do outside. It's the perfect bottled episode because it really doesn't have to go anywhere but deep within the inside of Picard's psyche and spirituality. Half a Life, I don't really remember all that well, but I think for me, every time I want somebody to take a look at Star Trek, especially the Next Generation, I will always recommend 100% of the time at the top of my list, Measure of a Man. Always.
Yep.
Always. It is literally, I think, it's a perfect episode in my opinion. And if you can get your hands on the extended version, which they did for the Fathom event, even more
Yes.
so, and I think that's on the remastered Blu-rays.
Yeah.
What Measure of a Man does is that it presents the conundrum of what is sentient life. And then it goes more into the Star Trek morals, meanings, and messages of seeking out new life. When Picard looks at Data, who is on trial for not being a life form, and he says, well, we're supposed to seek out new life. Well, there it sits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the exposition in a courtroom drama of why this is happening. I think it's absolutely, it's beautifully told, it's expertly acted, and I think that it's like the perfect bottled episode to try and get somebody to understand what TNG is about for me. How about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, the question always comes down to, well, what is the person who is watching? What is their perspective? What do they want out of their entertainment? So if it is something that is heady and thoughtful, yeah, Measure of a Man, I think, is just one of the finest moments for Star Trek. But like you said, it is mostly courtroom drama. So if the viewer is somebody who's really going to get engaged by that, awesome, show that episode. If it's action plus drama plus inner turmoil, then I would say Best of Both Worlds and then Family. I love Family, but I agree with you. You can't have that without Best of Both Worlds because it's such a payoff for that. And I agree with your assessment on Ensign Rowe and Iborg. Inner Light, see, I would show Inner Light to somebody if their interest in storytelling is something more along the lines of like Twilight Zone, where it really is just about that trip, because it doesn't reveal a whole lot about the other characters. It doesn't reveal a whole lot about their relationships or what Star Trek's mission is, but it is this great personal story where you get into Picard's experience. And then there is obviously payoff for that later down the road. So I think those are some great choices. Half a Life is, again, it's not about our main cast, but it is told really well. So it's hard to argue there. I do want to throw in some suggestions here because Elliot asks, Matthew asks if it doesn't have to be TNG. What about TOS or other series?
Oh, okay.
I've always thought about this. TOS is tough, and I've thought about recommending, well, Space Seed to Wrath of Khan is such a great payoff over time. But then I asked myself, okay, can you appreciate Spock's personality, his inner turmoil? I think one of the best episodes to reveal that is The Naked Time. So you start there, all right. Then you get Space Seed, but then maybe you need another Kirk Spock story. Well, I would actually say City on the Edge of Forever, because that's about the personalities and the friendship. And it also shows you who these main characters are. So I keep building this longer playlist, and then by the time you get to Star Trek 2, it's like, oh, come on, just stick around for 3 and 4, So it's a tough one to answer, and I think it all depends on who's watching, Oh, I just said it. Who watches The Watchers? That would be one of my favorite TNG episodes because it says something about Star Trek's point of view, about Star Trek's universe and where we are as humanity. See also our Engage episodes from Monday and Tuesday. So anything else that I jogged your memory with there?
You just have to read the room, really. You have to read, you have to, I guess, like any good bartender, you just have to know exactly how to listen to a conversation and what drink to pour, really.
Oh, perfectly said. Matthew, thank you. Norman, take us out.
All right. So thank you, Matthew, again for your email. And for any of you who are listening, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to our channel here at Roddenberry Entertainment on the Engage channel. And then you can always send your comments, of course, to missionlog@roddenberry.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Mission Log Pod. And remember, we may engage with your comments on the air.